Hi everyone. Here's what's bothering me today. So, why did I decide to make this series, and especially about French West Africa? For a few reasons. One is largely because I feel that the French kind of get away with a lot of their own atrocities. Talk to Tunisians, Algerians, and Moroccans about the history of French colonialism and oppression and violence and genocide, and they will tell you stories that make you think, wow, replace France with America and that lines right up. They seem to get away with it because they've kind of been forgotten or ignored because they weren't the biggest. First it was the British Empire, and then we had America and the Soviet Union, and America's still the big power. And so the French seem to get sidelined. But I think it's important to remember the part that they played in the current exploitation of minorities, not just around the world, but especially in Africa, and their own abuses in Africa, and why it actually matters that, blame, if you want to call it that, is spread equally, and how it shows that problems of abuse and exploitation and colonialism are not strictly a British or American thing. It is a broadly Western thing. And now that we, as the West, have colonized much of the world, they are now adapting our patterns and our values and our beliefs, which includes economic exploitation. China and its century of humiliation at the hands of Western powers is now doing to other nations what they had done to themselves. One would have hoped that instead China would be an advocate for economic self-determination, just in terms of equal partnership, because yeah, hey, we're China, we're just going to consume everything, it's fine. But nope. It's about power and prestige again, and a sense of entitlement. China's been a world power before. We're entitled to being a world power again. Just how France is entitled to a sphere of influence and respect from West African leaders. America is entitled to being a world power because manifest destiny, I guess. I made this series because I know it's not something that often gets talked about, and honestly, I skipped over so much. There are entire series I could do on these individual nations, let alone the continent as a whole. And the continent is just so massive and so beautiful and diverse and wonderful. I have met people and continue to have friends from various nations or whose parents fled some of these nations. I've met Kenyans, Ghanaians, Somalis, Ethiopians, Senegalese, South Africans, Congolese people, Tunisians, Algerians, Moroccans, and more. And the diversity among these people shows the diversity of Africa. And yet, the exploitation and the story of exploitation is the same throughout. And that's a shame, because there's an opportunity, truly, if we believe in egalitarianism and equity and the equal distribution of resources and wanting to uplift other people, then Africa has every chance to succeed properly the way the rest of us in the West have succeeded. We just don't give them that opportunity because we feel entitled to their resources and their exploitation. And this is something that doesn't get enough attention, especially not in 2020 because of everything else that's happened this year. But this is a part of history and current geopolitics that I felt is very important for a lot of people to begin to familiarize themselves with. This is just the broad strokes. I strongly encourage everyone to go and find out more about these different nations and their conflicts in the past, and how various powers, whether they were French, Portuguese, British, Italian, American, Soviet, Chinese, have exploited them and continue to exploit them to this day. Because in the future, with climate change, there's going to be more refugees displaced around Africa and around the world. and we're going to still blame them for their problems, when really it's not entirely their fault. Yes, they are to blame for some of their own internal problems, but we gave them nothing in terms of structure and governance and history and transition. We just said, oh, well, we're leaving. Here, have fun with this lack of a system that we've set up for you and borders that don't make sense. Try and figure it out. And we wonder why so many of these nations struggle. The fact that they continue to persist to this day and still manage victories and progress is astonishing and worthy of admiration, respect, and celebration. But the fact that we don't do that, and we don't recognize this, and we don't take action to seriously challenge our perceptions and our interactions with this incredible continent is definitely what was bothering me this week, and it's what's bothering me today.